So what's going on the U.S.-Mexico border right now? What we're seeing is kind of the Arizonization of the U.S.-Mexico border, right? The separation of children is obviously the one that people are very concerned about, and rightfully so. It's the one that, as a father, to me, just thinking about my children being separated from me makes me, as you can tell, just want to go into a rage and start bawling, because I can't imagine being away from my kids and having a government agent take my child from me and have no idea where they're going to go. But that's only the very start of it, right? If we look here at what the U.S. government is doing, they're starting, when I say it's an Arizonization of the U.S.-Mexico border, we can take a look at this article here that gives you a little bit more insight. It says, the title here, USA Today article, New Zero Tolerance Policy on Border Creates Overflow Court Hearings in South Texas. So by zero tolerance policies, what the Sessions and Trump administration want to do, essentially what they're saying is that they want to prosecute every single person that comes over the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, if you live here in Arizona and you've never been before to Operation Streamline, I recommend you call into your work tomorrow and say, sorry, I can't make it in. I got to go check out Operation Streamline. You head down to federal court in Tucson, Arizona at 1 p.m. on the second floor in the Special Proceedings Courtroom. You can see one of the greatest human rights tragedies that we have occurring in our nation on a daily basis. There they take people who have recently been caught by the Border Patrol. Don't give them an opportunity to shower, don't give them sufficient food, don't give them sufficient medical needs. They throw them into a courtroom in the morning. They have a few minutes to talk with their attorneys, who encourage them to plead guilty because they're being charged with the count of illegally entering the United States, which here is a misdemeanor offense. A lot of them are charged with 2 counts, one a felony, illegal reentry after deportation, which has a maximum of 2 years in prison, and the illegal entry, which is the misdemeanor. And they're told, if you don't plead guilty to the misdemeanor, you're going to have to go forward with a felony and possibly get up to 2 years in prison if you have no criminal record. If you do have a criminal record, that can be up to a maximum of 20 years in prison. So what they're doing now here, as this article says, down in South Texas, is on this morning, Wednesday, they had 72 shackled defendants shuffled into the courtroom. All been charged with a federal misdemeanor for crossing into the United States. 13 of them had been separated from their children, some as young as 6 years old. So just in this one courtroom alone in Texas, we know of 13 individuals who had been separated from their children. They go into court, they plead guilty, as this federal public defender said, which I used to be an assistant federal public defender, so I know so much about Streamline. And in fact, I took the job at the federal public defender's office, sought the job, wanted it, because I wanted to fight against Operation Streamline. That was my first sentence in my cover letter to the organization. I want to fight against Operation Streamline and any other crazy government program that they come up with to dehumanize immigrants. Down here at the bottom, it talks about the Jeff Sessions zero tolerance policy, which is why individuals are being prosecuted there in federal court. And what I wanted to point out here was, since mid-May, there have been more than 430 children separated from their parents in the McAllen sector. 430 children since mid-May in only a certain part of Texas, not even all of Texas, just the McAllen, Texas sector that we know about. At Wednesday's hearing, she asked each of the 13 defendants who had been separated from the children to stand. None of them had criminal records. One had been deported. Freddie Diaz was separated from his 9-year-old son. Maria lost custody of her 6-year-old daughter. And it goes on to say that it takes up to 45 days for these children, or it might be in another article, it takes up to 45 days for them to be placed in foster care with a sponsor. And meanwhile, they're in a detention center, or as we can even see now is migrant kids could be held in U.S. military bases at the Mexico border. This article talks as a result of this policy that U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has been touring military installations in Texas, Dice Air Force Base, Goodfellow Air Force Base, Fort Bliss, to see about housing children on a military base after taking them away from their parents. What on earth is the United States government doing in separating children from their parents and then looking to place them on military bases? This is absolutely insane, ridiculous. We need to have the outrage. We've already seen the United Nations step up and issue a report saying that they don't want this policy to be going on anymore. We need more local outrage on the local level, addressing ICE, telling them that we're done for with this policy, stopping the separation of the children from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border, to making sure it does not continue. Now, there is some bright news that we have here. I said, Rosemary, thank you for sharing this article. Let me see if I can get it up as well before we go into the somewhat bright news. But here's this article here. And let me see here. There we have it. Exclusive. U.S. sending 1,600 immigration detainees to federal prisons. So we learned about this earlier this week when Juliana, one of our attorneys here, went to visit one of our clients who was detained in Eloy. And they say she's not in Eloy, she's in Florence. They go to Florence, she's not in Florence anymore. And then we learned about this new policy of them moving to federal prisons. Now, I do criminal and immigration, so I have been to this federal prison before where they're now sending the immigration detainees. Let's remember, immigration is a civil process, so they're supposed to be separate and apart from the criminal process. Yet they're being sent to prisons, which are where people go when they've been convicted of a federal felony offense. So now they're moving detainees in immigration to federal prisons. The one that they're here in Arizona is out on the far west side now. And this is a shock to us, something that we just learned about this week when one of our clients was moved as well. So on the somewhat small bright note, I don't want to make it too bright because I don't want you to think, well, that means we don't have to do anything. Because we do. We do have to speak with our congressmen, our senators, elected officials, those in positions of power, and demand that everybody issue statements about the outrage that attend protest. But let's also mention that the ACLU has previously filed a lawsuit. This is not in response to the Sessions zero tolerance policy. This is a process that was happening even before, just not at the magnitude that the Trump administration is now bringing it up to. So thankfully, the ACLU had jumped on a lawsuit already before that, and we have a U.S. District Judge in San Diego issue a ruling that the case cannot be thrown out yet, right? The administration moved to dismiss the case. This ruling says no. The wrenching separation of families might violate the Constitution's guarantee of due process. Doesn't mean that he or she doesn't believe it does. It's just not at the stage right now to issue a ruling on that. So there's a little bit of silver lining there. Hopefully we get a stronger worded and more definitive order from this judge once the ACLU has a hearing on the preliminary injunction, which I'm sure that they've put in, and be on the lookout for that, right? So this was a case where in February of this year, a woman from the Democratic Republic of Congo was separated from her 7-year-old daughter when she was trying to seek asylum in the U.S. and detained 2,000 miles apart. So what that means is that they were already on top of this issue before Sessions issued his zero tolerance policy, but nonetheless, it's hopefully going to affect what the administration is doing right now with their zero tolerance policy. So again, if you have any questions about what's going on at the border, comments, or anything else you want to say, please let us know. Rosemary says, many posts on these issues, including ways to take action, are posted daily on my page, Immigration Right Activists, for all your followers, including your videos. Thank you, Rosemary, for all the work that you do in sharing this information to not just those of us here in Arizona, but across the country. You know, the amount of time you put into making sure we stay informed and we stay educated. And I would wholeheartedly encourage everybody out there, if you can just post a link somehow in the comments to that page so they can just go there and like it, so they can receive all that great information, that would be tremendously helpful and to stay on top of the things that are happening over here on the U.S.-Mexico border. So I, for one, am unbelievably outraged as what's going on. It's part when I was trying to decide what to talk about today, part of me said, don't even talk about the children separation. Don't talk about the border, because it just angers me so much. It puts me in this state of rage to think that our government is doing this to young children and taking them away from their parents. But then I step back and say, well, this is a human rights tragedy that's occurring right now under our noses, and we need to talk about it. We need to address it, and we need to take action on it. So I would encourage you, if you can think of a way, an action that we can do, a target that we can have, if you can come up with something as this is what we should be doing to address this issue, put it in the comments if you're not watching live, if you're watching it later. Let me know right now if you're watching right now. But most importantly, start doing something about it. Don't wait for the ACLUs to file an amendment to this lawsuit or another lawsuit. Don't wait for the leaders in your community to issue a statement on it. Don't wait for your representative to do something about it. Take the action. You do something about it. Unite with other folks who are on the ground doing great work and make it happen. But it's only through the public outrage that we can demonstrate that we'll be able to stop this ridiculous, inhumane policy. So let's make that happen. Karina Diaz, thanks for the comment. Everything on the news, especially regarding immigration, separation of families, has been heart-wrenching and outrageous. A lot of us feel helpless and frustrated. What can us average citizens do? Thanks for always bringing the truth and hope. Karina, I feel the exact same way. Like what I just said, I didn't want to even talk about it today. It was at such a point I just wanted to come on here. I wanted to be positive. I wanted to talk about all the great youth that I got to meet today and how energized they were and how brilliant they are. But I said to myself, we have to address this issue. We can't hide from it. We can't just say we're constantly getting beat in the face, we're constantly getting beat down, and we're just going to bury our heads in the sand. It's overwhelming. I absolutely understand that. And if you need, or anybody, I'm not just talking to you, anybody out there needs to step back and take a break and focus on your mental health and focus on your sanity, do that. Why am I saying that? Because I just did it. The last 2 weeks, if you've been watching, it was Abogado Sal, Abogado Juliana that were doing the Facebook Lives. Why? Because I was out of this country. Peace out. I need to get away, need to get out of here. We went to London, we went to Paris with my absolutely beautiful, brilliant wife, my absolutely amazing and beautiful 2 little boys, and we just said, we're going to get out of this country. And I needed to shut down for a while from Trump, from all the things that he's doing, from Sessions, from all the things that they're doing, because I need to be in this fight. And I need to be mentally strong to be in this fight. And I need to be in a good place as a human being, strong mentally, strong emotionally, so I can give to my community. And if I just continue to get beat down, if I continue to just take slap after slap and I don't regroup, then I'm doing a disservice, not just to my community, but to my family too, coming home in a bad mood, coming home upset, being a difficult person just to be around. So we all need at some time to take a step back and say, right now, it's just a little bit too heavy, a little bit too much. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to get myself recentered, and then I'm going to come back into the fight. Because this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. What they're doing now is horrible. It's outrageous. What the next president's going to do another 4 years, 8 years from now, there'll also be bad things to fight then. So it's going to be a continuous struggle for the rest of our lives. The point is, we got to remember, as people of privilege, the opportunities that we have living in the United States of America, being able to have a phone or a computer or access to the internet, we have the ability to create that change. And while sometimes it might seem overwhelming because we keep getting slapped in the face, it's not about how many times you get hit. It's about how many times you stand back up and get ready to fight. Because there's a lot of people that need us, that need our energy, that need our motivation, that need our intelligence, that need our education to go out there and not be their voice. I never say that. I hate saying that. But to fight alongside, to amplify voices, to open the ears of other people who aren't hearing those voices, so that social change can happen, so that injustices can stop. And that's what we need to be doing, regardless of how bad it is. So take a step back, put yourself back into context, put yourself back into a good place for yourself, for your family, for those that you love, and let's get back into the fight and start punching them in the face and take the fight directly to them. Right? The Bar Mall Law Group gives me a thumbs up. Thank you so much, YM Law Group, and thank you for holding the fort down when I was gone, when we were out of the country. We didn't worry for a day about anything that was happening because we know we had great attorneys great staff, great paralegals, great people up front that are holding it down for us, even when we're not in the office. And I know that y'all worked hard, y'all put a lot of effort into it, and I love each and every one of you, and I really value and appreciate that time, that energy that you put into making sure that this office, who exists to serve the community, can continue to do that, even if I'm not here, if I'm not in the country. So thank you guys for stepping up and making that happen. Anybody else wants to post a comment, a question, feel free to do it now. Again, this is just the beginning of what Sessions and Trump is going to do in terms of the U.S.-Mexico border. He's calling out now, saying that he wants to, thought it was somewhere on here about they should have get the wall. I saw a text from him that we had up here somewhere, blaming it. Here it is. Separating families at the border is the fault of bad legislation passed by the Democrats. Border security laws should be changed, but the Dems can't get their act together. Started the wall. So you're using children, taking children away from their parents because of politics. Unbelievable. Unbelievable to cause family separations, to cause anxiety in young kids and parents simply because you're not getting your way. Shame on you, Donald Trump. Absolutely ridiculous. This policy is going to stop because the community is outraged, because the lawyers are outraged, and we are not going to let you get away with this. No way. There's something that I'm obviously very passionate about as someone that's worked on U.S.-Mexico border issues for a long time, as someone that is a father as well. So I just encourage you all. I know at some point we feel overwhelmed. We feel like we can't do anything, but don't give up the fight. Stay together, stay united, educate other people, share the links, get out there, get your voice heard by individuals who have the ability to inform other individuals about the horrors that occur in the U.S.-Mexico border so we can create this change. If you have any other questions or comments or watching later, please drop them down below. I thank you guys very much for watching. I'm going to take a quick little break. I'll come back on in Spanish. If you have any questions in Spanish, feel free to drop those down as well in the next video. Thank you so much, and we will for sure see you next Thursday, if not sooner than that. Remember, we have a possibility of winning some tickets to a soccer game, Manchester and America, that's going to be happening in July. So look at our Facebook page for that information, and hopefully you can win those tickets and have a great time with that soccer game. All right, so we look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great week, and take care.